Today we're going to be talking about magic systems. We're going to be talking about every different kind of magic system, including sci-fi fantasy magic systems, because, yes, it is technically a genre.
Unless if you explain it, then it's sci-fi, but if you don't explain it...
Which is the funny thing, because that's why it's sci-fi fantasy, because if you explain half of it, then it's sci-fi, and if you explain not the other half, then it's fantasy, therefore it's both. So, that being said, anyway, so, magic systems, always complex, always hard to make, but I'm going to try to give you at least the simplest tips. The kind of like, this is the very bare minimum basics. You probably will have heard some of these before, but if you have, that's okay. This is meant to be a review. So, we're going to talk about soft magic systems first. As we talked about last week, soft magic systems are the type of magic systems. Oh gosh, this marker does not work at all. You cannot see that on the camera. Alright. Soft magic systems are when they are pretty much in the background and they don't have a whole lot of rules. They have rules and they have a point to the plot, but they don't have a whole lot of point to the plot. You know, it's kind of there to get them from point A to point B, to build the world a little bit. It's not their entire existence is dependent on this magic system. And there's so many rules, you have to get a Bible of rules in order to figure it out. No, that would be a hard magic system, which we are also going to talk about. We're going to talk about the soft one first. It's nice and easy. So, examples of soft magic systems are ones like Percy Jackson, Harry Potter. Exactly, you've heard a lot of these. Very famous ones. Exactly. So the reason Percy Jackson is a soft magic system is because even though there are rules to it, all magic systems need rules. Rules aren't necessarily what makes a magic system a hard or soft magic system. What makes it soft is the fact that they're not using their powers 24/7, 365 in order to survive. Is he using his powers? Yeah, but does he use his powers all the time? No, because he'd pass out.
Only when he needs to look cool.
And so, as a result of that, they're mostly in the background. It's mostly, hey, gods exist. Hey, they live in a summer camp with lots of cool other creatures like satyrs and centaurs. You know, that's cool. But it's mostly very soft, very light, very fuzzy. It's not very intense. With soft magic systems, you want to make sure you start with an overall concept in the middle. Whatever your concept is, just start there. And then I would say use the snowflake plotting method, but use it to build your system, which is going to sound weird, but I'm going to explain. So, you know how with the snowflake plotting method, you kind of go, here's that, and here's this, and here's that, and then you kind of branch off into here's this, and here's that.
Reminds me of elementary school.
Right, snowflakes. Anyway, but the point is that you start with an overall concept and then work your way outwards. Say, okay, for example, well, let's go with Percy Jackson. You are a demigod.
Yeah.
Now there are going to be different types of demigods. And within those types, they're going to divide into all the different gods. And then you're going to say, hey, what's their weakness? What happens if they use too much of their powers? And you're going to have a bunch of that. And then you're going to say, hey, based on this, what other creatures are there? And then you're going to continue like so on. And then you can just continue to build outward until you've got your soft magic system built. It's nice and easy being able to build a soft magic system. You don't have to go crazy as long as you have a weakness and it has limitations and you decide what part it will play in your story and it doesn't generally go beyond that. You're good. Nothing too crazy. It's nice and simple and it just makes it so that your story has a little bit of flair, a little bit of fantasy fun. But don't go insane. Trying to keep track of all the details. Yes, question.
I do have a question.
Feel free. Questions are welcome.
Wizard for Hire.
I have not read that one, but based on what I've heard, I would assume that yes, it is a soft magic system because from what I can tell, it does not have a whole boat ton of rules. Because the main thing...
it doesn't really, but they're using it all the time.
Yeah, so you can use it all the time. For example, Harry Potter. They use magic all the time in Harry Potter, but it's also a soft magic system. So the reason why it's a soft magic system, even if you use it all the time, is if it doesn't have a heck ton of rules. That's the main thing, is just the rules and limitations play a huge part in it instead of just a partial part in it.
Okay.
So for example, with Harry Potter, the rules and limitations are pretty much if you have wand, if you lose wand, you have a harder time casting magic. If you cast a certain spell, you have to say it right and you have to flick your wand right in order to make it work, right? But we don't learn all the different fancy things. We learn maybe 2 or 3 spells, right? And then they just kind of know all the rest because they get taught it.
They're just like, this is the casting. This is how you cast fire.
And we're like, that's cool, didn't learn that. Whereas with hard magic systems, like we're about to talk about, generally they play such a huge part in the world that you basically, as yourself, have to learn the magic in order to understand the story.
Tolkien with his languages.
Yes, his languages.
My whole language.
Yes, pretty much. And same thing with any of Brandon Sanderson's magic systems, where all of a sudden they're just like, I ate iron, and you have to remember what iron does, or it won't make any sense.
I'm like, hey, going back to the block of what? Right. Okay. Oh,
that is a hard magic system where they go, okay, I'm going to explain everything, and then you have to remember it. Ready, set, go. That's a hard magic system. That typically you want to start with the base concept, kind of like you do with a soft magic system. But the difference is you're going to want to make sure you know every single detail about this magic system. You want to know all of the complexities, not just limitations and weaknesses, though those are incredibly important, and you should have as many as possible because that's how hard magic systems work. But reasons why the magic can only be learned by certain people. How is it passed down? Is it genetic, or is it based on some sort of fancy blessing? Where did it originate from? How do you use it? If there are specific elements to how you use it, like for example, eating metals in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn, you got to make sure that you are listing all the metals and list what all the different metals do and list why only people can use certain metals. And so on and so forth.
How do you do that? Make it not boring.
I would highly recommend using a lot of showing and not telling. The main issue that people run into is they go, I have a cool magic system, now I'm just going to tell you about it. That's boring. Now if you say, I'm going to show you it by using it with skill,
I would probably skip that and go back to it when something weird happens.
Exactly.
See what you do.
That's why you don't do telling with those types of story. You have to do showing.
What you do is you write your story, right, with your hard magic system. You don't really put a lot of care into explaining it, and then you make a magic system textbook, which you then publish for the avid fans.
That also works too.
Yeah. I got you. Logic. Yeah, right?
Which you'll have to have your own magic textbook anyway, because otherwise you won't be able to keep track of it.
Right? So
With
just
a
like,
true
here are
hard
my
magic
notes,
system, you
enjoy.
can't even keep track of it yourself without written notes. So you know you're doing it right if you suddenly go, crap, I can't remember how they cast that spell, and have to flip through your notes. Then you know you're doing it right for your hard magic system.
Well, what happened with me is I was like, hey, notes, I got you. Now I have to have this main notebook. But while I was like, I don't know, chilling in the car, I'm like, ooh, that's how that works. So I wrote it down in a different notebook, and I can't find that one notebook.
The
It's
different
happened
notebook
before.
problem.
That one sucks.
It does suck. It's really frustrating. And then later you're like, I don't know how this works. Yeah. So I will say, the nice thing though is that even if you don't write it all down, it's your editor's job to catch that. But I will say the issue with that is that you should probably self-edit and try to catch as many of those problems as you can the first time, because agents don't like that kind of thing. They read and see that you use 2 different things for the same spell and go, they don't know how to write, instead of realizing that they just made a mistake because it's freaking hard. Anyway, sorry. Can you tell that I have problems with agents and editors that are just like, they don't know how to write?
You
and I'm
were
like,
an editor.
I know I am. That's the problem, is that I know editors that are like, oh, well, clearly I have to reject this one because it has a single plot hole, and I'm just sitting here like going, you can fix the plot hole. Anyway.
Yeah, see, no, Cheyenne is a good editor who knows writers and how to write. That's not all
I like
editors
to
are
help
great.
them. But yeah, lots of editors are there to help you. But there are, unfortunately, lots of editors that are also very picky. Unfortunately, the more popular the editing company you're going with, the more likely they are to be hyper picky. That means that you're going to have to polish the heck out of your dang manuscript. Because if you go, oh yeah, I want to be published by Penguin Random House, you're going to be really having some tough competition, because that means that there's 2,000 people submitting, about, give or take, probably more, and they're only going to be choosing 6.
Yeah, parents would be rejected.
6?
Yeah, they only typically choose 6 a year.
My dude.
That's the problem. Where it's like, okay, if you go for a middle publishing house, they might get 24 submissions and are only choosing 6. That's a lot higher chance. That means they're also going to be a lot less picky. And if you go for a small publishing house, even less picky. But the only problem with that is the smaller publishing house you go, the harder it's going to be for them to market you. So, trade-offs. Anyway. Off on my side tangent. Point is that with your hard magic system, you definitely want to make sure that you either have it written down, or if you don't have it written down, that you go back and go, how do I fix this? If only some of your people have magic, this is another point to talk about with hard magic systems. Why and how does it affect the social hierarchy? Because let's be honest, it will affect the social hierarchy, period. Because that's how human beings work. When human beings think they are superior to other human beings, it's going to affect the hierarchy of how people lead.
They're going to make it known.
Exactly. They're going to make it known, and they're going to go, hey, guess what? I should be leader because I have firepower. Like, that's just how it works.
If you oppose me.
Exactly. That's pretty much how it
Me too,
works
yeah.
with powers and things like that. People in power like to show off their power. So if you have magic power, how's it going to affect your social structure?
Voldemort.
Exactly.
The friggin'
Great
epics in the
example.
Reckoner series.
Exactly. Honestly, all I did was read the prologue, and I was like, dang. Anyway, but
It's so good though. It's so good though.
But that being said, speaking of which, if you want to know like hard magic systems and stuff like that, I highly recommend trying the Reckoner series because it's smaller, but it's still Brandon Sanderson, which means he still does a hard magic system.
What's it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's, how do you even spell that?
So RECKONERS.
Yes, the first book is called Steelheart.
Yeah.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
I think my dad
So
has read
yeah,
that.
it's really
The
good, but it's a
Reckoner
great
series.
example of a hard magic system that
The first
isn't
book is called Steelheart.
massive.
Firefly thing.
because a lot of books that have a hard magic system are just Bible thick, and it's really hard to get through. So that's an example of one that isn't Bible thick, but is still compelling.
My wife was trying to read them when
So,
they all started mentioning.
Another thing that you're going to want to take into account with hard magic systems is the fact that if all of your people have magic, every single person, not a single person is born without magic.
Holy crap.
Like, just theoretically, because some people actually do have worlds like that where everyone has magical
That is
powers.
amazing.
And the only problem is,
I feel like there's gonna be a lot
if
of fighting.
everyone, exactly, there's going to be a lot of fighting, there's going to be a lot of problems with your hierarchy, there's also going to be problems with how your world functions. Why bother having candles if everyone can use fire spells?
Maybe not everyone can use fire spells. Maybe
Exactly.
some people are fire, air, earth,
Right,
water,
so you
space,
need
whatever.
you need to have explanations for why things exist.
Put the fires on the candles.
Exactly. So there's lots of different ways you can do that, but you gotta think those things
I
through.
know.
Just because of the fact that a lot of inventions were invented because we didn't know how to do it ourselves.
Because we didn't possess
But
magic.
exactly. But if we possessed magic, we could fix the problem without a machine. So we need to think those things through. The only reason I say that is because I'm seeing a lot of people do a lot more sci-fi fantasies where it's like modern day, but with magic, and they've always had magic, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Hold
like,
up.
cool
That doesn't
idea, but
work.
also
Yeah.
explain why they bothered with technology if they have magic. Yes, question.
What if everybody has like magic like inside them, but they have to like learn it?
That is definitely a tricky concept. I would say figure out why some people choose not to learn it. Because honestly, if I learned I had magic inside and I could choose to do it, I would do it. 99% of the population would do it. So yeah, no, for sure. Definitely a good idea. But I will say you will have to explain why people don't do it if they don't do it. But like,
Yeah.
is there a danger in doing it? Do you suddenly age more rapidly if you do it? What kind of consequences are there to this magic that would prevent a person from wanting to use
Yeah,
it?
is it hard
Maybe
and
the higher ups who are like more powerful with magic, like use you or something.
That's also possible, totally. Yeah,
Or
there's
maybe
all
when
sorts of
your
different ways
character's,
you
like,
can make
lost
it.
a family member to
That's my
magic, and they're
character's
like,
trauma
no.
stop.
Right, exactly. So there's
A
all so
backstory
many
trauma.
different things that you
Yeah.
can do with magic.
No, I'll
There's a
love
lot of
traumatic
cool
love
stuff
stories.
that you can do.
Me too.
I
So
will
much fun.
say, last one that we're going to talk about is science fiction fantasy. So, with science fiction fantasy, this is the blending of genres. This is not commonly done, but it can be done and has been done. How much of your fantasy can be explained by science? Like, kind of, this is going to sound silly for those of you who haven't watched The Librarians, but I highly recommend you watch The
Oh my
Librarians.
god, I just looked into that.
It's
like,
adorable.
you
I
should
love
watch
it. It's fun. Anyway, but there's this one character who was obsessed with math, but she also is obsessed with magic, and she's obsessed with figuring out how magic works through math, and she calls it mathemagics. And I love it. It's adorable. But point being, with science fiction fantasy, it's like mathematics in The Librarians. How much of the fantasy can be explained by science? How much of it can be explained by magic? How much of it follows the rules of science that we already know? How much of it defies the rules of science as we already know them? Why does it defy it? Is there any explanation for it? What bits can't be explained by science, and why can't they be explained by science? What about it is so baffling that science goes, what makes them shrug their shoulders in confusion? And what makes them go, oh yeah, we just don't understand that yet? A great example of this is also Marvel's Thor. The fact that they explain the Rainbow Bridge by being a wormhole, and the fact that Thor is technically another alien race. Like, these are all things that they could not explain before, so they called it magic. But it's technically science, as can be explained by modern day technology. So with a sci-fi fantasy, just make sure that you equal parts explain what is science fiction and what is unexplainable fantasy. The last thing is, if it is future, you got to decide if it's future science, so if it's true sci-fi in the regard that it's in the future, most sci-fi takes place in the future, or is it current science, in which case it's sci-fi fantasy purely because you're using science to explain fantasy, which is therefore by definition science fiction. These are all things just to take into account. I would say the biggest things that you need to take into account, though, with any magic system, whether it's soft, hard, or science fiction, is what are the weaknesses, what are the limitations, and what is the main concept of how it works and how it affects your hierarchy and everyday life in your universe. Are there any other questions? I should probably erase the hard magic system thing on the board.
I don't know if mine would be a hard magic system.
Honestly, I say write it the way that feels right, and if you notice yourself making a lot of notes of like, don't forget that this magic thing does this, hard magic system. If you don't have to write things down like that, then it's a soft magic system.
Okay,
It's easy to remember. Most soft magic systems, super easy to remember.
One of the characters is just like, he just looks through this book to cast like this fire spell.
So it sounds like it would be a hard magic system for him, but for the reader it would be a soft magic system because they don't have to memorize the book.
It's not named, it's just he cast a fire spell. Wow.
Yeah, in that case that would be a soft magic system. It's kind of like with Harry Potter. If Harry Potter said, here's exactly how you have to flick your wand in order to make things work, that would be a hard magic system. But they only do that once. The rest of the time it's, I cast a fire spell. It's Wingardium Leviosa class.
Oh.
That is the only time. Aside from that, they pretty much just go, I flick my wand. And you don't even know if they do a fancy flick or a fancy this. And yet, according to them, it'd be a hard magic system. But according to the reader, it's soft because it's easy to digest. And it was soft for the writer, too, because J.K. Rowling, most of her spells are named after Latin names, which, because she studied Latin, was super easy for her to remember. So even though it might be hard for us to remember, for her it was a soft magic system. Yes, it literally means wings that levitate. Like, all of the spells can be translated into very simple things. Like, it's funny because there was this whole matching game we had last year with the Harry Potter party. It was all like, which spell does what? And I was all like, that's cool, I know all of these because I just translate them into Latin.
Wait. You had a Harry Potter party?
Yeah, we always do. We have every year
What?
on Harry Potter's birthday.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's at the library.
What? What day? Wait, I forgot his birthday. What day?
I don't remember.
October 13th.
If I'm being honest, I don't
or
remember what
something.
it is. But I know that we do it every year. But anyway, I think it's not on his birthday. We used to do it on his birthday, but that was just too stressful. So I think we do it on the day Harry Potter was released. So I don't remember when that is. I'd have to ask my coworker. She's
Harry
the one in
Potter's
charge of it.
birthday is
But-
my 31st.
Gotcha. No wonder we don't do it because that's summer reading and that's stressful. So we used to do it on his birthday, but now we do it on a different day. I don't remember what day though. I would have to ask. Like I said, I'd have to ask
Release
her.
date was November 16th.
So it's probably November then. Yep. But anyway.
November 16th. Got it. Wait,
You're
I think
welcome.
is that the?
Oh, I need to text my friend.
But anyway,
Dumb.
that being said, I don't know if we're doing one again this year, but we almost always do one every year. Point being, though, that with soft and hard magic systems, your magic system can still be hard for the characters to learn, but if it's easy for the reader to learn, then it's a soft magic system. And if it's easy for you to remember it, then it's a soft magic system. It's only a hard magic system if your readers and you both are going, huh? At the page. Then it's a hard magic system because then you're having trouble remembering. What does that guy do? Why does he do that? What are the rules of this? You know, and that's a little bit harder to remember. But a lot of people actually really enjoy it because it can feel super immersive to have a hard magic system. But a lot of people also enjoy a soft magic system because it's super immersive while not killing your brain.
Wizard for Hire is nice because he's just like
Exactly. You
Yeah,
can read it
you
and
just,
enjoy
like,
it, but you don't
use
have
the
to be like,
magic.
I know all the things. Yeah. You don't have to stress yourself out with all the rules. You just get to be like, cool story.
Well, the main character doesn't actually understand what the other magic guy is doing half the time. He's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm summoning the spirits.
Mood. Yes, question.
Because sometimes, like when you do a hard magic system, sometimes the reader, if you make it so that like the reader has to like go back in.
Yes, go back
before the
several
book
times.
to
Yeah,
I
like
don't like
read
that.
read a few parts and then they merge together. It can make sometimes it just like
It makes
Just,
it
like,
really
what-
hard
it
to
makes the
remember.
book like double as cool.
Yeah, it does
So-
make it double as cool though, because sometimes you're like, wait, I remember that bit. Oh my gosh.
Oh, like if you like go through a book.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like,
no
things make
way.
sense. Exactly, and you suddenly are gasping with delight. Like, that's definitely a sign of a hard magic system, too, where there's a lot of foreshadowing. There's a lot of, I told you about this earlier, but you don't remember this. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're like, what?
Like sometimes in Harry Potter,
Very good point.
I listened to it and then I went back after I knew everything and I
Mhm.
re-listened to it and I was like,
Right. Proper foreshadowing can definitely help with
That's
that.
crazy.
there's so much in here.
Exactly.
There's like so
In
many
hard
hints.
magic systems, books like
Mhm.
that, I think there are some books that I like to say the person needs, the author wants only strong people to read.
Because it's so hard to get through.
Yeah.
That's also true, too.
I don't.
You have-
I'm gonna close that book. I'm strong, but not in that way.
You're like, not for that. But yeah, so hard magic systems can be super cool, super immersive, but you have to be careful that you're not doing it too hardcore. Because if you do it too hardcore, then certain people are like,
I'm gonna close the book.
what? In a bad way. You want them going, what? In a wow kind of way. Like you were saying, you don't want them going, wow, as in, I don't know what that means.
Like,
You want them going well and like,
what
ooh,
the
Exactly.
heck?
dummy.
You don't want them to go.
Yeah. Just, huh?
want
I'm
your readers in
confused.
the
You want them to go,
You want them
"Oh,
to go,
that's cool.
It's like,
Yeah.
yes, you belong to me.
Exactly. You want gasps of delight, not gasps of I don't know if I
Well,
can finish this.
it doesn't have to be the lie. Maybe it's shock. Maybe you're like that character.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
but
maybe
I guess I
you
just mean
hate
like
you.
it's a
Like,
positive
over me.
emotion, not a negative like I don't know how to handle this emotion.
Oh, yeah.
All of my readers
Like-
not like me.
This is so dumb. They're making
I
us
should start
remember
planning out,
the
Exactly.
exact
That's not a good
letters
website.
of the
They're like,
Yes.
how is it spelled? We need to know or we're gonna
exact-
die. I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know and I don't care.
the exact letters of the Hawaiian language is amount times 36 divided
Don't
by
wanna make it that
8 million
I mean,
equals.
you can.
It's
but
summer.
just
I don't
know,
wanna
if
do
you
that.
make it that complicated, like you said, you will only have very specific readers who want to read it.
Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, no, hence why I said he has ones that are lighter and ones that are harder core, and so definitely it's
If
interesting.
you want a lighter read, Alcatraz versus the
That's
Evil
also
Wizard.
true.
I know,
Because he has a
everybody's
magic system
recommending
that's
that to
hard.
me.
It's so
Like,
good.
Hard magic system, but still simplified enough that it's
And
not
the
hard to
sarcasm.
digest. That is
The-
fair.
He's so
Fun.
witty and amazing. I love him.
All right. So that being said, I'm going to turn off the video so we can have free write time right now. But I also wanted to really quick remind everyone that we have a writing contest going on still right now.
I forgot about that.
It's not due until July 31st though, so you guys still have an entire month to work on it. To be fair, though, you do have to turn it in before we close that day. So preferably finish it before the 31st, because you have to turn it in before then. I am trying to get digital submissions up and running, so that way you guys can submit it digitally if you like forget in the last minute. And yeah, but I don't have it currently, so don't plan on it. That being said, I actually did get approval for a grand prize idea at the end of the year. So basically, if you win the grand prize, which is between adults and teens, just so you're aware, so that way you also have bragging rights if you do win, because you would have beat all the adult entries too. If you do win, then you get a $50 Amazon gift card.
Okay.
If you win second place in your age category, because I'm going to do a second place for adult and for teen, so that way no matter whether the person who wins is a teen or an adult, the opposing age category has one as well, has a $25 gift card for the runner-up.
Then I could get a scarf with that.
Then for the if you just enter at all, even if you enter period, you have to at least hit the word count limit though. Please. Unfortunately, your entry will not count if you just write "there was a dog." But if you hit the word count minimum and do at least a minimum of 1,500 words for your entry, then you will be entered into a raffle. And if you show up for the grand prize ceremony at the end of the year, then you will be a part of that raffle. And for every entry that you did, you will get another ticket in that raffle. So the more at times you enter, no, they do not count as words.
So like if you're one word short and you put a period,
I can almost
does that
get a
count?
scarf.
No, it does not. I'm sorry, that's not a word. Anyway, but that being said, point being that you can then potentially get a $15 Amazon gift card, which I know isn't as
That's
cool,
good.
but on the bright side,
That's
for
money.
every time you enter, you get a raffle entry. So
That's
as a
free money.
result, exactly, as a result, the more times you enter, the more likely it is that your name will be drawn. So encouragement to enter, pretty please.
Wait, can you enter as many stories as you want?
No, just one. that is one
How do you
limitation that I
enter
do have.
multiple
One story.
times? Oh, like the
Yeah, because I have multiple contests throughout the year, and the grand prize thing will only be in January. Every January, I will say, here is the best story of 2024, and here are the two
Oh, it could be
runners-up of
any of them.
2024. It could have been
Actually
any
good.
of the contests. Yes.
None of them are going to be me, guys.
And then we do the raffle for anyone who entered in all of 2024, and so on and so forth. But yes. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to turn off the video now.
Bye, nerds.
I can see the devious plan.